These are the two new Zenaq Fokeeto Ikari 53-15 jigging rods. 53 means 5.3 foot in length, which is approximately 1.60 meters. And 15 is the power level. It is the heaviest, the strongest out of the Fokeeto Ikari jigging series. The blank is again the Ikari solid carbon blank, which has basically unlimited power. It is still very thin, very light, and remains extremely flexible and versatile. There is again two models. There's a spinning model and a bait casting model. They all feature Fuji SIG guides, the strongest and highest quality guides, Fuji reel seats, Zenaq's hexagon foregrip, which gives you a very, very strong grip. The rod twists less in your hand and you just have a stronger grip. With a lot of pressure on the rod, you just hold the rod more securely. The foregrip length is just long enough so you can get a high leverage when you have to really pull hard on big fish. The rear grip has the perfect length for either jigging out of your harness or under your armpit. These rods are both rated for PE line 8 to 12 and have a maximum jig weight of about 500 grams. Most powerful jigging rod that Zenaq makes. Again, Northern Adriatic, shallow water, little current. This is a duo semi-long. It weighs only 200 grams. But no problem to work that jig with this rod, but you have plenty of power to catch fish over 100 kilos. As with all the rods in this series, because of the blank structure and the blank capabilities, you can use this rod with jigs as light as 180 grams, and you can go all the way up to 550 or more, and the rod will work these very light and these very heavy jigs properly and support the angler and take a lot of stress off actually moving the jig off the angler because of the elasticity of the blank. It comes with a rubber end cap or a gimbal for those really, really tough and long fights with big fish. Fish that I expect to catch are over 150, over 200 pounds. That means 80 to 100 kilo plus. The jigs that I generally use here in the Northern Adriatic are more on the lighter side, but I will use these rods if the tuna that show up here are in the 100 kilo plus range, because I just need the backbone and the power of a rod like this to be able to fight the fish in a reasonable time and catch a fish like this. The Ikari blank has that special characteristic that it is, even though it's very thin and very light, it is extremely powerful. It really supports the angler in fighting a fish. It has a very strong recoil. That means the blank itself has a very, very strong reaction to right itself up when it's bent. It's not like many other manufacturers who just add a lot of glass into their blanks so the blank can bend and you can deadlift, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 kilos. That doesn't really help you because nobody fishes 50 or 60 kilos of drag. And second of all, if the recoil, that means the lifting power of the blank, is not there and the blank just stays bent, it doesn't support the angler at all. And that is not the case with this blank. This blank is probably the most responsive angler supporting blank that I've ever fished with. The drag capabilities are basically unlimited and the recoil, the lifting capabilities are immense. I'm choosing the multiplier reel because I'm using a jig that gets hit a lot while it's falling. You will see that this rod will work a jig like 200 grams, 250 grams, all the way up to 500-600 grams beautifully. The spinning version, on the other hand, has also a Fuji reel seat, also the hexagon grip, the same rear grip, also the gimbal, but of course it comes with the strongest Fuji SIG guides for spinning reels. The guide spacing is different. The bait casting version of the rod has a acid wrap, means spiral guide, which reduces the torsion in the blank when the blank bends under a lot of pressure, and the rings would stand on top of the blank. On the bait casting model, the guide spacing is just perfect, that even under a lot of load and the rod bends a lot, the line will never touch the grip or the blank. The blank tends to twist itself. That is eliminated by using the spiral wrap, and it also eliminates real wobble, real twist. So you have a very steady and a very, very smooth reeling motion actually, and cranking motion on a blank like this. I'm going to use this kind of rod in my home waters here in the Northern Adriatic. As I said, if the tunas that show up here have an average weight of about 200 pounds, because this rod has absolutely no problem in handling fish of that size and even way larger. In my second home base on the Canary Islands, I will use these rods for very large yellowfin tuna, very large big-eye tuna, or in the summer months when the amberjacks are very deep and we're encountering fish of over 50 kilos, because I just need the heavier jigs, and the stronger currents just require heavier gear to get down to over 100 meters in order to target those fish. For the tuna fishing, be it here in the Northern Adriatic in shallow water or on the Canary Islands, the versatility of this rod makes it possible to use lighter jigs, smaller jigs, if the tunas are feeding on small bait, which happens quite frequently. But it has sufficient power to catch large fish of over 300 pounds.
I got it! Away, this way. Yeah. Are we good?
Yeah, but the fish is taking line again. I know it's going to be a big one. All the line we got is going. Slower, slow down. Now the hot part is starting. Inch by inch. The reason for having a spinning and a bait casting version is, of course, there are preferences. Some fishermen prefer to use a spinning reel, others prefer the bait casting reel. I actually like to have both of these rods in my arsenal, simply because there are certain situations when a spinning reel is superior, and then there's other situations where a bait casting reel is superior. I would always use a bait casting reel if I'm fishing with jigs that are fluttering on the fall and I'm getting a lot of strikes, a lot of bites as the jig falls, just because you can control the fall of the jig way better on a bait caster, simply because the line just comes straight off the reel. It doesn't have a bend, it doesn't have to come off a vertical spool. The falling jig is so much easier controlled on a bait casting reel than on a spinning reel. On the other hand, if we're targeting fish in the upper water column and I need to cast the jig out a little bit or just have it drop really fast for the first 10, 20, 30 meters in order to reach the fish quickly, I prefer the spinning reel, just because it's easier for me to handle. You get the jig down fast because the spool is still full if only 10 or 20 meters are missing. If you have to drop the jig really deep and the spool gets empty, friction of the line on the spool gets bigger and bigger and the fall gets slower and slower and it's harder to control. So if I have big fish in the upper water column, I would always go for the spinner. If I get strikes on the fall or if I have to go down really deep, I would prefer the bait casting reel. So both rods have their specific purpose and they're absolutely perfect for targeting fish of over 200 pounds or 100 kilos plus.